All right. So moving on, and I don't know, maybe I should say it in the beginning of the video also, but if you fuck with me, like my video. I mean, it's a like for me is a like for you as well. I am you, to be honest with you. And it does help my channel out a lot. I'm not charging anybody but a like. You know what I'm saying? So if you fuck with me, give me a like. I would really appreciate that. And I'm also going to make this disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor because I'm making another part. So I'm making sure this video gets protected and my channel's protected. But I'm here for entertainment purposes for these particular videos. I'm not here to educate you on anything because I am giving you my opinions. Nothing is factual. None of my stuff is backed up by scientific studies or scientific evidence. None of my stuff is backed up by medical evidence or medical fact or medical studies or scientific studies. I'm a nobody. I'm just giving you my opinions on camera. And if you want to listen to what I'm saying, you know, don't believe what I'm telling you. Just listen and, you know, you take what you need and then expel the waste. But none of the stuff I'm giving you is fact. It's my opinions. Okay. So now that you know that, let me move on with what I was doing. All right. There's a couple videos I'm going to actually show you over here. And the reason I want to show you these videos because it's going to tie into what I was talking about. Oh yeah, so this is what I was talking about before, and this is where it kind of became a little bit interesting. When I was in the gematria search, and I saw Lamborghini, and then I saw The Rock, Kevin Hart popped up, right? And the funny thing is that in this waking reality, dreamlike state that we're in, The Rock's best friend is actually Kevin Hart, and they did a number of movies together. Now, even looking up the name of the movies that they did together has significant meaning as well. But I'm not going to give it the meaning for you. You can figure that out for yourself. Even one particular named Jumanji. So, I want to show you a couple of things. I do suggest for you to watch part 1 and part 2, and then come to this one so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay? I've covered a few points over here. You know, and before I even show you these videos, I want to show you something very interesting here. The bats, you know, there's blood-sucking bats, and then there's other kind of bats. Just like there's reptiles that are actually fruitarian, and there's some that are carnivorous, like the bearded dragons, the Komodo dragons. You got a few, you know, meat-eating reptiles, and then you got ones that are not, like iguanas, you know what I'm saying? And this is the thing though, these animals are all within you. And this is why when you're eating certain foods, particularly what are you feeding? You get what I'm saying? If you're eating something, what are you putting into your mouth? What part of yourself are you actually feeding? Do you redefine the meaning of things that you're putting in? It's like, sometimes it becomes second nature, but some people think they have to live a rigid lifestyle. Your body's made of water. Right? And when we look at, for example, like the super unconscious, the unconscious and whatnot, you have a cup of water. Water is unconscious, right? But what do? You could structure water by switching it from one cup to another. You could swirl it around. You could run it through marbles. I mean, there's a few ways to add life force to water. Hell, if you want to take a straw and just and blow bubbles in there like that with all your fucking like, you know, snot and breath and everything, I don't care. I mean, you're adding life force to the water. You're adding breath to the water. But intent is everything. So your body is made of water. And what do? You program water as well. So the water, you program it before you drink it. You can even put a sigil in your cup. Drink it how you want, but program the water. Your body's made of water. All right? And sometimes talking to yourself, your body knows everything. Your body remembers everything. You're trying to look for so many things outside of you, but because you're not in tune with the actual body. And when you're in tune with the body, these things start to surface up and you'll have certain realizations. It's not going to come in English language or anything like that. But even when you're looking information up, you're not really searching to the point where you're straining yourself looking for shit that you can't find. Things will just start presenting themselves to you. Like water flow. Everything just starts to synchronistically flow into place. You get what I'm saying? And you're like, oh, wow. Wow. Everything just starts popping into place. So you're not even really searching. Things are just coming to you. You get what I'm saying? All these things, everything, you're coming from a space where you know everything is within you. And because it's within you, you'll have realizations. But upon those realizations, synchronistically, information starts to present itself to you. Even in the form of you searching, right? Because you're not really actually searching. You're more in like Dora the Explorer, you know? So I want to show you a couple of videos real quickly because, again, I'm not going to repeat it. I don't edit my videos. I keep them as raw as possible. But go in to watch part 1 and 2 so you can see what I'm talking about here. But what I do want to show you is a Joseph Campbell video. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That'll happen to my YouTube. I hate to keep you waiting, but then again, I really don't. Check this out. I want to show you this real quickly. I want you to listen to this carefully.
The animal associated with the moon, as the lion is associated with the sun, typically is the bull, whose beautiful horns resemble or suggest the horns of the crescent moon. And as the moon dies to be resurrected, so in rituals, the bull is killed to be resurrected. You can't have new life unless you have old death. These things go together, and they're celebrated in the midst of in the ritual.
You heard what he just said. You can't have new life unless you have old death. I read to you in part 1 what the spiritual meaning of the bat is, and we're still making more correlations between the bat and the bull. And I want you to listen carefully to the points he makes here.
Of sacrifice, the bull sacrifice in Egypt, in Mesopotamia, among the Greeks, and anywhere where there were bulls is frequently the prime sacrifice. It's charming in India when you see families in a little bullock cart going to a festival. The horns of the bullocks will be decorated. The horns of the bull are the lunar signs. The bull is associated with Shiva.
I'm going to tie the link in the description of this video.
Fraser in The Golden Bough, I think, has made the point irrefutably that the prime sacrifice in the old, early king ships was the king. This is the young Cretan king. You never see pictures of old Cretan kings. There's a cycle, frequently of about 8 years, associated with the cycle of the planet Venus, where the king is killed. The book, The King Must Die, which brings this thing forward. And then, funny because
the next video I want to show you the ISIS thesis. I'm going to make some points on there.
The king was the bull. In Egypt, for example,
the
said
listen to
associated with the cycle of the planet Venus, where the king is killed. The book, The King Must Die, which brings this thing forward. And then substitute for the king was the bull.
Substitute for the king was the bull.
For example, the Sed festival was a festival when a very special bull was sacrificed. Now, the attitude of antiquity to sacrifice is something that I don't think we can appreciate very well. The animal sacrificed or the young person sacrificed was perfect. Anyone with a flaw was unworthy to be sacrificed. And the big surprise, the thing that really lets you know that it's another psychology, comes when you read about the ball games of the Maya Indians. The ball courts, this was a ritual game. And the captain of the winning team was beheaded in the field by the captain of the losing team. It's the winner who is worthy to be sacrificed, and that is the climax of a life. I don't think, as captain of a basketball team, I would urge my team.
Very interesting, huh? Now, he talked about the ball games. You heard? I mean, we think of death, and when we think of death, see, you want to enjoy this journey, okay? But death is looked at as a misfortune. If you watch part 1 of my video, there was 2 ways that they looked at the meaning of bat, for example. One was led to, you know, death to bring in the new, right? But there was another way that basically described it as misfortune, ranging from death to illness, right? It's kind of like when you think of the word demon, you have this bad image about it. When you hear the word virus, oh my God, it's a bad thing. Like you hear something and it's like something that's beyond you, you know? Which I'll everything I'm saying, making another video, I'm making notes because I definitely want to cover in videos and go into detail on them. But I want you to listen to this little segment here on the ISIS thesis, which I'm going to link these videos in the description of these videos as well. But listen carefully.
So I'm going to stop here and ask for questions.
Okay, so I went through it already.
If anybody has, it is several things, but native state, 6 switch, is connected to our brain,
All right, listen.
And its evolutionary message is reflected in our behavior.
Listen to that part.
Okay, is that the viral DNA modulates our mind, which is connected to our brain, and its evolutionary message is reflected in our behavior.
You heard that?
Okay, so if this is so, a good example is that the pharaohs invented baseball to describe Lambda's genetic switch between units of linked genes. So the pharaoh had a ball throwing right, and he'd throw to the 4 directions. He had the bull goddess was very important, like the bullpen. But what you have here is a baseball field, and home plate is at the bottom by the catcher's box, and then we have first base, second, and third base. So what was happening in Lambda's genetic switch, and this goes on all the time with this virus, is there's 2 major proteins and they're battling it out. And they each have a team of proteins that they work with. So the proteins are fighting to get to home plate. Now, if we look at this, I want to call the big protein Goliath and the little guy David. Now, Goliath is big because he has 236 amino acids. David is small because he only has 66. Once again, that 66 is a very interesting number, and we find it 666 as the mark of the beast in Revelation. The way that Goliath makes it to its native state, and what a protein native state is, by the way, is where the protein becomes functional and it assembles itself. So Goliath folds, it runs from first base to second base to third gene base, and then it slides or folds into its native state. On the other hand, David folds in reverse from third to second to first, and then it slides into its native state. The problem is that Goliath, both proteins are after the first base gene seat, and Goliath is closest to it. Now, this is very, very simplified explanation of a genetic switch.
Battle jawza.
So, David needs to be turned on so he can beat Goliath. And what turns on David is several things, but the one I'm going to talk about is it's the DNA from human junk DNA. And it's a special protein called reverse transcriptase. In that 98% of our junk DNA, 15% is reverse transcriptase. And what that does is help David transcribe in reverse so that it takes the native state. When that happens, both proteins cooperate. And what you have is a DNA wormhole, a microscopic DNA wormhole, because Goliath folds like a black hole. And so that would be the top section. And David folds like a white hole, which would be the bottom. And a black hole connected to a white hole is an Einstein-Rosen bridge. So what we have is biology and physics, two different systems with two viral proteins mimicking the dynamics of an Einstein-Rosen bridge, but it's actually a DNA wormhole. Now on your right, below Goliath, is a sample of sort of a black hole protein folding funnel, and that's how Goliath folds. And we could just simply move that up to the top cone. Whereas David folds like a volcano. It spits out. So that would be the bottom section. So what you have here is the volcano spitting out the particles that bind. Now this acts like reflection, and it happens along the axis of a black hole. And I know that gets complicated. So I'm going to stop here and ask for questions, if anybody has them. It's the bio.
Crazy how all this just ties and just makes so much sense. But like I said, just look up the meaning in gematria of the word batal jawza, okay? And I see jaws there, meaning like the bat was eaten by this lady, and it just caused this whole fucking pandemonium going on. And Guanz, Huang, Bingdu. I mean, shit. The same way they use these symptomatic, these diseases, which are basically just symptoms, then they're basically entities and deities now, because they take over and control you by the name that was given to them as a symptom. But the root cause of it all, no different than what we have going on here. The root cause of it all was the bat. The root cause of everything comes down to what I'm talking about when it comes down to your nervous system, and when it comes down to how your adrenal glands work, how the system works, but particularly, most importantly, overall, nobody's doing anything to you. Okay? Nobody's doing shit to you. You're doing it to yourself, whether you know it or not. Based on the choices and decisions you make, your system runs accordingly. So you got to understand, when you have a virus, okay, you want your body to fight these things. You want your body to get everything back to homeostasis, because you don't feel too good in your body when your body is going through some shit, right? The same way how we look at it in society. If you're in a neighborhood and you got a bad guy, or even let's say on a global scale, you got a terrorist, you want the system to take care of this parasite for you, because it's killing people in your community. It's making you feel anxious and scared because you can't go out, because you're afraid something bad might happen to you. So you depend on the system to trap this individual, lock them up, and separate it away from society, right? But gain access out of all these things, you're always gaining something out of it. It's kind of like I made the examples of like the Pablo Escobars of the world. Could you have exactly another Pablo Escobar operating things the way he did one point in time? No. It's outdated, because the whole thing is the system learned how to fight the Pablo Escobars of the world by using the new modern technology. And the thing is that a guy like Pablo could have been stopped a long time ago. It's just that we wanted to see how far we can go with using our minds for what it's not designed to be used for, but to stop a virus like this, because we're all viruses. And the reason we're all viruses is not because we're passing viruses from one person to another. Even just talking, you infect people. You can infect and affect people, even impact people. Basically, your information could be a mind virus. And you may be somebody that means well. You may be somebody that wants to help somebody out. But because you're indoctrinated into a system, you may be giving them distorted, corrupt shit. In actuality, this can go into many avenues, like I've spoken about in different videos, where that person may have to be going through the shit that they're going through. And you're there trying to, push something on this individual, but this individual has to go through that. And then you get frustrated because they're not listening to you. And it's because they're supposed to go through the shit that they're going through, right? And the whole vegan carnivore fucking debates and whatnot, at the end of the day, it comes down to protecting these animals. And these animals How do you know they're not supposed to go through what they're supposed to go through? Including the bulls being sacrificed, right? How do you know as a consciousness you didn't decide to incarnate in that space for you to actually clear out certain things that you needed to complete your game? These are just things I'm coming up with. None of this is factual information, just things to maybe ponder on as possibilities. So don't, take it and say this is what it is, because it's not, Take the path that empowers you, because at the end of the day, there's nothing going on out here. What matters is what matters to you, and the path that you decide to go on can only affect you, and you will see the world for how you are. You're never going to see the world for how it is. Creation is already created. It's a playground, and whatever you want to basically experience is on you, and it's on you because it's in you first. If you like my video, like it, and we'll talk